Good morning. So I got a really good response from the last two videos, so I figured, let's just keep going with it. So I used to do live chats and webinars with dietetic students. This is something that I already enjoy, and if it seems to be helping other people and you guys enjoy it, then I got no problem just hopping on here a couple times and talking about different nutrition topics. And then I have been posting them to my Facebook page, so like my personal Facebook profile. In the future, I don't know, maybe I'll make something a little bit more formal for it. But send me questions because I enjoy answering questions, and I'm sure you guys have a lot to ask. And then I'll just kind of pick and choose and pick a topic one day. It's fun for me because I get to go look things up then if you have questions. So anyways, one thing that I didn't really touch on with the last video was how well you tolerate things following the race. So what I can say is that my Ironman experience, oddly enough, was way more positive than my half Ironman experience a year ago. So I can give you some like real good comparisons. So last year with Honu, which is the 70.3, which is, for those of you who are not familiar with Ironman stuff, that's literally half of what I just did. So it's a half Ironman. I wouldn't say I fueled as well. Coming out of that race, I felt like absolute crap. So I couldn't eat anything for days, like days. I couldn't eat, I think I took 2 bites of a hot dog following the race. And then I think the first thing I was able to stomach was a smoothie the next morning. And then that was the only thing I stomached the entire day. I think I took like 2 bites of a waffle, and which is really sad because you burn that many calories and you're like, yeah, I want all the food. And then I couldn't stomach any of the food. So it was days before my stomach was back to normal. And, you know, all the things that you would expect to come with that, you know, like diarrhea and whatnot. So I actually had an extremely positive experience this time. I was hungry right away. I ate some of the free food that was offered by the race, but I didn't really want it. So it was like tacos. I know, obviously I love tacos. Like I didn't really want taco stuff at that point, which was weird. But it was like shredded chicken and ground beef, like not really feeling it at that time. What I was really feeling was 10-piece chicken nugget meal. Like I smashed that. So I went to McDonald's, got my chicken nuggets and some fries, and if you know me, if you've ever spent any time around me, you know that one of my biggest pet peeves is I am a small person, and I usually cannot eat as much as I want. So I only finished, for example, one of the meals I had following the race was a quesadilla at Outback or something like that, whatever. I could only eat half of it, and I was so disappointed. So, and that's been actually a big challenge with all this training, waking up at 2 a.m. starving because I just can't fit enough food in my stomach at one time to make up for the calories that I burned. So anyways, I was so excited that I finished a 10-piece chicken nugget meal, because normally if I go to McDonald's, which yes, as a dietitian I go to McDonald's, if I'm on a road trip, you better believe I'm stopping at McDonald's at least once. Usually I get a Happy Meal, which is really depressing. So I was really excited, but I did stop with 2 nuggets to go and had to give myself a pep talk, but I did it guys. Very proud of myself. So anyways, for a lot of people, that's actually pretty common that they don't tolerate anything for a couple days. One thing that's very common with endurance athletes too is shitting blood. And it's very scary to see because normally blood in your stool is like a really bad thing, but and I can give more detail on this. I'll just give a brief overview, but what happens is because your blood is shunted away from your GI tract for so long, it just kind of breaks down the gaps between your cells are not as strong after that long, and so it allows for some leaking. So something to consider, but I can definitely give like more info on that and how to prevent it. A couple things when it comes to nutrition and tolerance, some patterns I've seen is the harder you go. So if you're going really hard, like really high intensity, it's far more likely that you're going to have tolerance issues, whether it's tolerance during the race or tolerance after the race. I didn't feel like I at any point pushed myself really hard during that race because I was pacing myself really good. So I think that's one reason I tolerated things so well on the outcome. Hydration has a lot to do with it too, as well as heat. So the hotter it is, the more likely you are to not tolerate things during your race and after the race. So coming from Hawaii, Maryland was actually a cold race for me. So starting the run, I was wearing a quarter sleeve or half sleeve kit, and I had unzipped part of it for the start of the run. But before I even hit the half marathon point, I had zipped it back up because I was starting to get cold. And then just even a couple miles later, I put my arm warmers on. So Maryland was actually a cold race for me, but depending on where you might have come from in the country, might have been a warm race. Also depending on your finishing times. So if you finished before dark, then it might have been kind of warm during that run. And that could play a factor in that tolerance and how well you feel coming out of it. So, yeah, so that's some things, some expectation management if you plan on doing some kind of endurance or ultra endurance event of what you might feel like coming out the other end. But yeah, you guys send me questions. I have a couple ideas for topics that we could touch on for these videos moving forward, and I'll see what I can do about finding something a little bit more formal to post these. But for now, they'll be on my live story on Instagram, and then I'll go post them on my personal Facebook account, and they'll be in an album there. So if you don't follow me on Facebook, feel free to follow me. You should be able to find me. I don't post anything political. I mostly just post nutrition stuff and photos of Roxy and race stuff. And I try to be funny sometimes. So that's it. Send me some questions. I'd love to hear them. Bye.